race relations in America, and today marks the 55th anniversary of the Supreme Court decision that forever changed public schools in this land. But while forced segregation is illegal, a voluntary version is all the more common more than a half century later. And Ron's here with look at that. Good morning.
Bill, consider this. In 1968, the vast majority of African-American students in the South went to schools that were overwhelmingly or exclusively black. 4 years later, most black students were in integrated schools, but in recent years, that has changed. Public schools in the South and North have gone back to being mostly black and Latino or mostly white and legally. More than 2,000 students go to West Charlotte High School. 19 of them are white. Almost all the others are black. The last time there was a white student in your class was when?
The third grade.
You're 11th grade now, and you haven't been in a classroom with a white student since third grade?
Third grade.
It wasn't always this way. For nearly 30 years, starting in the early 1970s, West Charlotte was integrated, about 60% white, about 40% African American, including Candace's mother, Renee.
We've gone backwards, that we are not continuing the integration that we thought would start in 1971.
Like many school districts in America, Charlotte's public schools were integrated through mandatory busing. But a succession of rulings by an increasingly conservative U.S. Supreme Court effectively dismantled the mandatory busing system.
We don't have legal segregation where there are schools that are labeled for whites and blacks, but we have the practical equivalent. We have schools that are 99 to 100% black or Latino.
Orfield says studies show minority students attending integrated schools do better on achievement tests, and that black, white, and Latino children learn a valuable social skill, how to get along.
You can see that the buildings haven't changed much.
When Candace Stitt looks at her mother's high school yearbook, she's amazed at what she sees.
I was excited because I asked her questions like, how was it? What did they do? How did they act? Did you have white friends? Did y'all hang out?
So this is casual conversation.
Critics say there's nothing inherently wrong or harmful about schools being racially imbalanced, as long as it's not the result of deliberate segregation.
I don't see anything sinister about the fact that some schools are going to be predominantly one race and other schools are going to be predominantly a different race.
West Charlotte High is now almost back to where it was when it was one of Charlotte's two racially segregated Negro high schools. There are many schools just like West Charlotte.
America should mind. It should be concerned. It just elected an African-American president. It should not want to see even the natural resegregation of people.
But that is what is happening 55 years today since Brown. And Gary Orfield of the Civil Rights Project says most of the extreme school segregation or racial separation is not in the South, it's in the North, in cities like New York City, Chicago, and Los Angeles, and in the suburbs or outside of northern cities. Bill and Kate.